Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Jada Gray with another banger. Today, as the title says, is gonna be What if Ayanokoji did not hold back? Let's get into the video. Volume 1, Chapter 1.1. A White Room Student. Warning though, this fan fiction might contain some spoilers. I was thinking of how I should go about establishing myself as a fresh high school student. As ideas come into my mind, the bubbling and shaking bus occasionally interrupts my train of thought. I got slightly nervous about how the passengers of the bus became increasingly crowded with students wearing the same uniform as I am. Before I could go back into fantasizing about how I should introduce myself in class. Excuse me, but shouldn't you offer up your seat? A young, well-built blond man that goes to the same high school as I am was sitting down on one of the priority seats. A woman dressed like an office lady was the source of that voice. Besides her was an elderly woman who had been standing for a while now. That's really a crazy question, lady. Why should I offer up my seat? There's no reason for me to do so. His eyes remained closed and his smile unwavering. You're sitting in a priority seat. It's natural to offer those up to the elderly, she replied. I'm a healthy young person who certainly wouldn't find standing inconvenient. However, I'd obviously expend more energy by doing so than I would be by sitting. I have no intention of doing such a pointless thing. Or are you suggesting that I should act livelier? I wonder. Looking at the office lady with a single eye, the man rebutted. Is that supposed to be the attitude to take while talking to your superiors? Reapproached the lady. While the two of them engaged in something that I would call a pointless argument, I kept to myself for a brief second. I carefully thought about what I wanted to do after enrolling in this school. From Matsuo's kind intentions, it was clear that he wanted me to live a normal high school life. After all, that man took my entire childhood away from me. At first, the obvious answer was to live in obscurity where I'm free from trouble. I dislike trouble anyways, so it was a natural first choice. However, this school seems like it's way more than it is at first glance. Therefore, I changed my mind. Matsuo granted me a chance to take part in this so-called high school life. I'll at least test the abilities I got from the white room and see how far I can go. Of course, with the intention of trying to enjoy myself to the fullest. With that in mind, I ground through the things that the white room lacked and studied them to the fullest. And this is social interaction. Even as the sole survivor of the fourth generation, I'm still far behind in the knowledge about interpersonal relationships given the nature of the white room. Therefore, I tried my best to cram as much information as I can as soon as I decided on my so-called goal. For instance, the majority of young people that were around my age should supposedly be rich in hobbies and interests. Some of these were fashion, sports, making lots of friends, being in a relationship, or the so-called otaku culture, which includes liking things such as video games, light novels, anime, and manga. That's only the tip of the iceberg. I only had little time on my hands, as I never really got in depth with any of them. However, being aware of those things alone will be a very big help in how I would want to conduct myself in the near future. There was a multitude of things that I needed to read up on about basic social interactions, not just those. And because this environment was a totally new battleground for me, it doesn't matter how book smart I was if I can't put my knowledge into practice. Personality wise, I tried putting on some fake face, but figured that I won't be able to keep them up for long. That's why I decided to just go with my real personality. I thought that it won't really be detrimental to my future plans as a student. I worked extra hard on understanding the social construct of what a typical high school society is supposed to be, as well as how classroom politics works in some ways. However, they were all very basic and shallow at most. The best method is to learn by hand, which I am sure will not be a pleasant experience. Superiors? Well, it's obvious that both you and the old woman there have been alive longer than I have. There is no doubt about that. However, the word superior implies that you're referring to someone of a higher position. In addition, we have another problem. Even though our ages are different, wouldn't you agree that you have an impertinent attitude or are being extremely rude? The blond man argued with grace. Well, going back to reality, this situation will likely be my first step into this alien biosphere. Biosphere. But I'm more than willing to give it a try as a test for myself. What? You're a high schooler. You're a high schooler, aren't you? You should just be quiet and I interrupted the office lady before things get out of hand. Excuse me. I'm sorry that I didn't notice you earlier. Please take my seat instead. I told the old lady. Oh, is that so, young man? Thank you very much, the old lady replied with an aged smile. There was a visible discomfort on her face when the office lady and the blond man were arguing, most likely because they attracted the crowd's attention. The genuine look of gratefulness on her face was quite a pleasant sight. The elderly woman repeatedly expressed her attitude before finally being guided by the office lady into my now vacant seat. I sneaked a glance towards the blond man who looked perfectly unperturbed, like what transpired just now was an event that didn't involve him in the first place. I was aware of the attention I had just garnered, and truth be told, I was quite uncomfortable with it. I know that they looked at me like I was a good person, but that was besides the point. I'm just not used to this yet. Setting the negatives aside, I'd say it was a pretty good practice of social interactions. However, before I could mind my own business and wait for the ride to finish while standing, a cute voice rang from behind me. As I slightly turned my head around, a pretty faced, short-haired girl met my eyes. Good job on that. Good job on that one. Have you have you been a step behind? I'd be the one to speak up for the poor old lady's sake, she said with a smile. The girl was already standing at the start of her ride. With that in mind, it was my fault for being absent-minded in the first place. I really wouldn't have noticed the old lady if it wasn't for that commotion. You were already standing, right? If I did notice, I might have offered you my seat too, I said, looking away at her. Whoa, if it isn't for your monotone way of speaking, I would have immediately thought you were hitting on me. She chuckled. Bro, I'm dead. I tried to turn to her once again, but I didn't fully commit, only facing her general direction. I wasn't planning on doing so. I'm sorry if that's how I came off. It only felt natural to me as a guy to offer my seat to a girl, or at least that's what I read. That was this is pretty bad. I only tried to sound friendly, but I guess lines like those are considered hitting on someone. I need to be more careful next time. I see. Kushida Kikyo. By the way, I'm in Class D starting this year. How about you? I'm amazed. This girl is the complete opposite of me. Even I can tell that she's a natural when it comes to social interactions. It might be a good idea to establish some sort of friendly relationship with her as soon as possible. For now, I think that's pretty easy. After all, I'm Ayanokoji Kiyotaka, also in Class D. It would be pretty rude to not face her while introducing myself, so I did. Talk about luck. A social expert like Kushida being in the same class as me was a godsend. Eh? You're in Class D too? What a coincidence. Showcasing her adept social abilities, Kushida managed to perfectly control the volume of her voice despite her genuinely surprised expression. What? Yeah, what a coincidence, I paraded. Well then, nice to meet you, Anakoji. You can call me Kikyo if you want. She offered with a smile. I prefer to call you Kushida for now. It would be weird if I suddenly call you by your given name while you refer to me with your surname, I replied. I see, that's fine. She chuckled cutely. Oh my gosh. To be honest, I predicted her to press on with why don't we call each other by our first names then? Or something along those lines. But I guess I still can't grasp the mind of an expert social elite. Not long after our talk, the bus ride came to a halt as we reached the gate of the campus. This is it. This is the start of my high school life. As a white room student, I said I shouldn't be here, but thanks to Matsuo's advice, I made the impossible possible. Ayanokoji, should we walk to our classroom together? Kushida said with an angelic smile. Any man would be a fool were they to refuse such an offer. I nodded in response as I walked towards her waiting figure. So I'm gonna tell y'all the author's notes. So the author said in this timeline, Kiyosaka chose the proactive and gave up his seat. Oh my gosh. The scene where he stared at Horikita Suzune did not happen, making their ironic first interaction after the bus ride non-existent. Meanwhile, because of Kiyotaka's timing, Kikyo did not get into an argument with the blonde man, which was obviously Koenji Ryosuke. Those events produced a little domino effect into Kiyotaka befriending Kikyo early. I'm curious to see your thoughts on the current and possible future alterations due to the changes in Ayanokoji's initial going choices. Okay, Volume 1, Chapter 1, Chapter 1.2, The Point System. Whilst walking to her class, Kushida and I engaged in small talk. Being the expert between the two of us, of course, she's the one who spoke first. So, Ayanokoji, do you know anyone from your junior high who's attending this school? She asked. This should be a pretty natural conversation, but it's a really bad topic for me because I did not attend a junior high. I thought about making a fake backstory that I would stick with if these kinds of topics ever came up in a conversation. However, I immediately discarded that line of thinking because it was too risky. If I start this with a lie, I should be 100% consistent but that's simply impossible. I don't know anyone apart from Cushion and myself. Should I name a random middle school, it'll be hard. It'll be harder and harder to keep the lie up as time goes by, even with an elaborate backstory. With all this in mind, I just came up with a half truth in order to solve all my problems. Unfortunately, no. I just came back from a board. After I said like a line from a script. A half-truth instead. The White Room was a facility located deep within the mountains. Even if it was somewhere in Japan, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call it another country. Eh? So does that mean I'm your first friend here in this school? She asked with glittering eyes. Safe things would have been more complicated if she asked me the name of the country. Probably. How about you? I replied and asked. We're on the same boat. None of my junior high friends made it to the school. You see? Kushida clapped her hands once in excitement. I expected her expression to turn melancholic in her last sentence, but that didn't seem to be the case. I see. Well then, I'm looking forward to getting along with you this year, I said. Same here. If I was a normal person, I would probably be head over heels towards Kushida already. Her whole smick of acting really cute and friendly would probably break my man's any man's emotional defense. I'd be lying if I say that my heart isn't racing at this moment as expected of a social elite. Shut your mouth. The two of us reached the classroom in no time. Oh my gosh. Yo, shut up, Elijah. Yo, calm down, yo. That line was so cringe. Oh my gosh. Yo. Yo, shut up, Elijah. Yo, calm down. Let me continue the video. The two of us reached the classroom in no time, like what I read from my research. Time goes by a lot faster when you're talking with friends. Is this what they meant by it? Well, I'd probably have this sentiment belief if I wasn't aware of how dopamine releases make your internal clock or subjective sense of time faster. Well then, I'd like to know some of my new classmates for now. I'll talk to you later, Ayanokoji, Kushida announced with vigor. She's really going at it, huh? I want her to give me some of that enthusiasm and confidence, if possible. I walked towards the seat that bore my nameplate. It was at the back of the room near the window, a good place to sit generally. Looking around, the classroom was approximately 60% full. During this free time, I should be working my butt off with making friends as soon as possible, but as expected, I just can't seem to find the right timing. Right before I forced myself to stand in order to blend in with the crowd, a girl sat beside me. Oh, I remember her. Back on the bus, she was sitting beside me from the opposite aisle while reading a book. The girl simply sat upright after placing her bag on the desk. She gave me the impression of a hard-to-approach honor student. Is there a problem? She glanced, noticing my gaze. From that, I got a good look at her face. She was certainly beautiful. If anyone tells me that she was a year or two older, I'd probably believe them. She gives off the vibe of a cute beauty. Oh my gosh, yo, my gosh. Sorry, I thought I saw your face before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were riding on the same bus as me earlier, right? I asked. You might be right. If my memory serves me well, you were the one who offered the old lady a seat. I suppose I should thank you for ending that noisy commotion, she said with a sigh. I'm Ayanokoji Kiyotaka. Nice to meet you. I took this chance to introduce myself. She paused for a second to stare at me. After a short moment, she sighed and opened her mouth. I'm Horikita Susane, she replied. Before I could decide on how to continue this conversation, I noticed the presence of someone at the classroom entrance. Bro, I messed up on that one. This seems like a rather well-equipped classroom. It would appear to live up to people's expectations. Turns out it was the blonde man who argued with the office lady not too long ago. This seems like an unpleasant omen. Orikita agreed once more. Without paying attention to anyone besides him, he sat on the seat labeled Koenji. It's like no one else was present inside the room. Apparently, the rude comments he made on the bus were accurate reflections of his opinions. His imposing nature prompted everyone in the classroom to draw away from him. Oh crap! When I looked back towards the seat beside me, Horikita was already immersed in her reading, reading her book. I can see that she was reading Dostoevsky's, bro. I don't even know how to pronounce that name. Sorry, bro. Comment in the chat. In the comment, bro. Comment. Like, stop doing that. Crime and Punishment. Perhaps Horikita's taste in books was reflected in her personality. Anyway, I just missed my chance to befriend her due to the loss of conversational back and forth. I can probably converse with her again if I tried to talk about the book, but I think it's pretty disrespectful to interrupt her at this moment. Alright, from now I should survey everyone of my classmates. Yo, wait up a second.